This video is brought to you by Fractal Design. Make sure to check out their new Integra M modular power supplies. You can find the link in the description below.
How's it going, guys? So I recently asked German manufacturer Be Quiet if they had one cool product I could check out for the channel, to which they responded by immediately sending me a box full of components. That's when I learned the German word for 5 is 1. And honestly, I probably won't get around to reviewing everything they sent me, cause ain't nobody got time for that. I did, however, ask you guys on Instagram and Twitter which component you fancied the most, and was met with a lot of favoritism for their Dark Rock 3 CPU cooler, so that's the one I'll be reviewing today. I am going to be testing it against the more modest Shadow Rock Slim, and I'll also be running it in a push-pull setup with one of Be Quiet's Silent Wings 2 fans to see how many more degrees we can shave off of my 5930K. But for now, let's have a closer look at the cooler. The Dark Rock 3 measures in at 97mm long by 137mm wide by 160mm tall, making it a wider cooler than most. RAM clearance can pose an issue if the DIMM slot nearest to the socket is occupied, but fortunately the fan mounting clips allow the fan to be moved higher up on the heatsink. I can't tell if these clips are intended to work this way, or if I've just thought of a brilliant patent idea that's going to make me millions of dollars. Excuse me. Just bear in mind that moving the fan to a higher position on the heatsink increases the overall height of the tower. You can expect support for any of the widely adopted AMD and Intel sockets with included mounting accessories, thermal paste, and instructions. Right on the box, we see this cooler has a 190 watt TDP, which offers great cooling capacity for most processors, with a few exceptions such as AMD's high-end Vishera CPUs, which can reach TDPs of up to 220 watts. For something like the FX 9590, for instance, I'd recommend something besides the Dark Rock 3, like a different processor. Working alongside the heatsink is Be Quiet's very own 135mm Silent Wings PWM fan, which does have a black-sleeved cable, 220mm in length. The fan's rated at 1400 RPM and uses 9 blades lined with a number of grooves, which aim to increase airflow while maintaining near-silent operation. I certainly came to respect the quietness of this cooler after nearly losing my finger due to thinking the fan was off. To further aid in acoustics and the potential for lost limbs, the fan uses a 6-pole motor design, and the heatsink itself is lined with 2 long rubberized pads for the fan to rest up against, reducing noise and vibration. While introducing some rubber in between things is a great preventative measure, the padding is nowhere to be found on the other side of the heatsink, which is odd, seeing as how the cooler supports an additional 120mm fan, although I do have a theory explaining this conundrum that I'll share with you later. The metallic fan clips make installation a breeze, and as I mentioned earlier, facilitate the option for vertical adjustment. Also vital to the cooler's performance, of course, is its heatsink. This one has 51 aluminum fins which are entirely dark nickel plated, giving them a near black matte finish. Heat from the CPU is effectively carried up through the fin array via 6 6mm copper heat pipes, topped at the ends with aluminum caps. A diamond-cut finish graces the brushed aluminum top cover, complemented by a subtle yet stylish touch of Be Quiet branding. At the base of the cooler is a copper base plate and what looks to be a much smaller heatsink for additional heat dissipation. Although since this little guy didn't bother making an appearance on the retail box, I can only assume he's a passive heatsink. Installing the Dark Rock 3 on a 2011-3 socket proved to be a bit challenging. The 4-threaded posts kept getting snagged on the non-threaded holes of the mounting bracket, which made it difficult to mount the cooler evenly on the CPU. After enough fiddling, tightening the nuts with the included excuse for a wrench wasn't much better. Next time I'd ask for an easier mounting solution altogether, or at least a wrench with an angled head that isn't made by Fisher-Price. Now, I ran this cooler on top of my stock 5930K and compared it to 2 other setups in my testing, including the Shadow Rock Slim being a budget-friendly option for lower TDPs, and the Dark Rock 3 itself, equipped with a 120mm Silent Wings 2 PWM fan. And here's where I revisit my theory on why the Dark Rock 3 only has rubber padding on one side of its heatsink. The outer rims on both sides of the Silent Wings 2 fan are already lined with rubberized material, so there's really no need for additional padding on the fin stack. Immediately, this makes you marvel at Be Quiet's brilliant German engineering right before realizing, hey, they're forcing me to buy their fans. As it turns out, that may not be such a bad idea, as the temps they were able to achieve show great promise. The Dark Rock 3 stayed well below 80 in CPU-intensive synthetics and kept things cool when gaming. Temps were also knocked down a degree or two once the cooler was configured for push-pull. Even the Shadow Rock Slim, trailing behind its bigger brother by a wider margin, saw acceptable temperatures overall. So there you guys have it. Clearly this cooler is a great performer. I personally love the brushed aluminum look and style, and so far every Be Quiet component I've handled has been crafted with tip-top quality and design. Ah, the Germans. As always guys, toss me a like on this video if you found it helpful. You can also leave me a comment down below letting me know what you thought of this cooler and perhaps any other Be Quiet products you may have dealt with in the past. Before you go, don't forget to bookmark my Amazon affiliate link and use it every time you buy stuff. You can also pick up a torso chassis while you're at it. You can also make a monthly contribution on Patreon to help the Awesome Sauce cause. I'm Kyle with Awesome Sauce Network. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Ow.